Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. You will hear from former President Donald Trump. You'll also hear from law professor Alan Dershowitz and multimillionaire Kevin O'Leary defending Trump. There's no way his guilty verdict isn't overturned by an appeals court, because every billionaire real estate developer does the exact same thing, which is absolutely legal. It is the responsibility of the bank to determine what the value of Trump's properties are, not Trump. That's why Deutsche Bank gave Trump billions and made hundreds of millions of dollars with Trump. So hit subscribe to this channel. It's a frivolous, absurd lawsuit, politically motivated, obviously, because they don't go after other people on this statute. It's a statute only reserved for Trump, and that we've seen that throughout the country. It's interfering in 2024, just like that phone call allegedly was interfering in 2020 that he got impeached for, which was absurd also. Hit subscribe to this channel. Here's President Trump first. So here's President Trump speaking about the case.
Yeah, we've gone through years with this person. She's a political hack, the Attorney General. The judge is obviously extremely friendly with the group, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe he may surprise people on a positive side. We'll have to see what happens exactly. But we've proven this case so conclusively. We've asked for directed verdict many times. They don't have any facts. They don't have any evidence against us. Millions and millions of pages, years of litigation, and all politically motivated. She campaigned on a "I will get Trump." If you've ever seen any of her clips, they're horrible clips, actually. The anger, she's got serious Trump derangement syndrome. There's no question about it. Letitia James, the corrupt Attorney General of New York. So we've proven our case. There's not one witness against us other than one person who is a deranged. He's got a lot of problems. He's a man who's been convicted of lying. He's a felon, convicted felon, and not a good person. But that's their only witness, and he's now crashed and burned. They have no witnesses. And by the way, that witness took back everything that he said. He took back everything he said in court, took it all back. So they have no case. It's a shame that a thing like this is able to happen. Businesses leave New York. She went after Exxon, and they decided to move to Texas. And hundreds of millions of dollars they pay in taxes. I paid over $300 million of taxes over the last number of years. $300 million. And they don't recognize that. They don't recognize anything. So think of it, not one witness, millions of pages of document, years of this nonsense, and now it goes on. And one other factor, we won this case already in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals voted in favor of us. But this judge has been very, very slow to accept that opinion, because that's not the opinion that he wants. But we won in the Court of Appeals. That's the boss of this judge. He has to know that. And it was a conclusive victory, statute of limitations and other things. And that case has already been won. So that's the story, and I thought we'd come down to 40 Wall Street, which is a great building, and you'd get a chance to see one of the nicest buildings in New York, and a convenient place, and I don't have to pay any rent because we have it, and it's been a very successful building. But it's a shame to have gone through this for years and years and years, and now we'll see if we're going to get an honest verdict. We didn't have a jury. We had no rights to a jury. It's a statute that's never been used before for a purpose like this. I just watched a certain broadcast, and they said, they've been looking, has it ever been used before? This is a statute that's a consumer fraud statute, never been used for anything like this before, and it's a shame. It's really it's a witch hunt in the truest sense of the word. It's election interference, and it just came out. This was just right now. Letitia James visited Joe Biden in the White House numerous times during the Trump witch hunt, and this just came out about 10 minutes ago. I got it. And so it's all a conspiracy to try and get Biden, who can't put two sentences together, trying to get him into office. So I just want to let you know that We have our best poll numbers. We have the best everything. Despite this, and maybe because of this, because the people of the United States, all of those people back there, but the people of the United States really get it. They get it better than anybody else. Yeah, please.
You will hear in a couple of seconds Kevin O'Leary defending Trump. You'll also hear law professor Alan Dershowitz defending Trump. Number one, there was no bank that sued Trump. How on earth can the city, a Democratic Party prosecutors, how can they sue Trump when the banks themselves made money, did business with Donald Trump, and had no problem? How does that happen? Kevin, hello. Thank you, Kevin. How does that happen? Okay. What took place, ladies and gentlemen, is that the interaction or the negotiations between a real estate developer and banks loaning the developer money, these are confidential negotiations. Okay. Deutsche Bank gave Trump billions of dollars. He actually built hotels, casinos, golf courses. He actually engaged in capitalism. He didn't get paid through taxpayer dollars like Democratic Party politicians. Okay? The statute was never used against anyone. And you'll hear Kevin O'Leary right now explain every real estate developer in the world, including New York, does the exact same thing. First of all, Mar-a-Lago, from what I understand, was valued at $17 million in Florida. Mar-a-Lago is hundreds of millions of dollars just in terms of being Trump, not just the former president, Trump's, residence for so long. There's historic and there's brand name value to that residence. You can find an apartment in New York for $85 million. So imagine Mar-a-Lago. Okay, a lot of this also is what city employees feel is overvaluing. City employees who do not understand, who are not experts in real estate, because Democrats love experts, city employees believing that they know enough about New York real estate to accuse Trump of a crime he didn't commit. So they're accusing Trump of a crime, yet again, that he didn't commit because they want to prevent him from paying his legal fees. If they can prevent him from doing business in New York, which is what he's known to do. He has buildings worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. If they can prevent him from doing business, they can hopefully try to bankrupt him. That ain't going to happen because on appeals, which is what Kevin O'Leary and Alan Dershowitz and many others have stated, this will be thrown out. He did nothing wrong. He was never accused of criminal wrongdoing in his entire life up until 2024, because guess what? It coincided with November of 2024. The people who were Trump was impeached for a phone conversation asking if Biden was corrupt. And then the same people who said he was interfering with a phone call have now indicted him under 91 criminal charges. Not 1 second will he be in jail or prison. The people telling you that Trump will be in jail or prison are either lying or stupid, or both. The people telling you, if there's anyone out there saying that Trump is going to go to prison or jail, he won't even step foot 1 second in prison or jail. That's not ever going to happen. And this case exemplifies why that'll never happen, and his poll numbers will go up. The man's poll numbers will go up. So, hit subscribe to this channel. We'll get to Kevin O'Leary right now.
Well, let's leave out Trump for a minute, and let's leave out politics, and just talk about what happens in real estate development anywhere. So, if you're a developer and you've got a building on a block anywhere in America and it's worth, let's say, $500 million, and you want to build a building right beside it, you go to the bank and say, This building is worth $500 million. I'd like to borrow a construction finance loan against this asset, and I want you to tell me it's worth $500 million too. And the bank negotiates with you and says, well, no, we think it's worth $400 million. And you fight it out. You're always trying to show your assets in the brightest light with the sunshine you could possibly determine for them. You want them to be worth the very most, because you're only going to get a 40 or 50% loan to value, as it's called. Then you borrow that money. In the case of a $500 million asset, maybe you get $250 million, and you build a new building with a construction finance loan. And so that's what this case is all about. And by the way, forget about Trump. Every single real estate developer everywhere on earth does this. They always talk about their asset being worth a lot, and the bank says no. And that's just the way it is. So in this case, when I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not pro or con, or I don't care about the politics, who lost money? Nobody. The bank got paid back the construction finance loan, and a new building was built. And if you're going to sue this case and win, you got to sue every real estate developer everywhere. This is all they do. This is what they do all day long, every day. So I don't think this thing will ever survive appeal, regardless of what the fine is. This doesn't even make sense. Now, look, I know Trump's got a lot of problems in other indictments and everything else, but this, if you're a real estate developer, you're watching this, you're saying, what is this? This is ridiculous.
Okay, so Kevin O'Leary explains it in a very brilliant and effective manner. He's a real estate developer. He is negotiating to acquire loans. He will get 50%, let's say, of the value of his properties. This is not difficult for Democrats to understand. Of course, he's going to say that his properties are worth a great deal. He might even believe that his properties are worth more than the bank feels. But the bank will decide what the appropriate value is. They will appraise the properties. They will appraise your home, not just a commercial real estate. They'll appraise simply a home sale. Nicholas, thank you again. Nicholas, thank you and to my super chat, thank you. So Nicholas, thank you so very much for so many memberships you've gifted. Thank you. To my viewers in Australia, thank you so very much. Paul Bartlett, Nicholas Orm, everybody, thank you. And to Super Chat, thank you. So this is why Deutsche Bank stated, Deutsche Bank MD testifies on Trump's inflated incomes. It's not an industry standard that these statements be audited. It is not a problem that Trump said his properties are worth, whatever, 800 million, and they were worth 200 million. That's not a problem. It doesn't hurt anyone because the bank has their own appraisal. They get people out there and they say, okay, this building in New York is worth this, or this is what we're willing to give you. It's not a problem. This is not a criminal act. What they want to do is political. And you see the case unraveling in Fulton County. You see the case unraveling in D.C. You see the case completely unraveling in Georgia and in Florida. In D.C., he can delay it to where he's president and does away with the special counsel, because the special counsel is the executive branch. But in New York, they want to get him on hush money, even though the FEC fined Clinton and the DNC. And by the way, they're not getting Trump on statutes that they've gotten other people on. They've completely fabricated, or they've completely made a mockery of the rule of law. This has nothing to do with the rule of law. They're blatantly partisan. That's why whenever they get indicted, like Hunter or Joe, they either get out of it because Joe can't remember anything, and so he gets a free pass, or Clinton, the honorable director, says, well, no reasonable prosecutor would indict, so the Democrats get away with pretty much everything. Then they go after Trump and pontificate about the rule of law. I mean, you can't get greater hypocrites than today's Democratic Party that obviously gets away with things that they would never allow Trump to get away with. And by the way, they are never indicted on the same statutes that Trump isn't. There are Democrats who actually ran for office who are real estate developers. They're not indicted like Trump. They did the same thing as Trump, according to many people. You just heard it right now from Kevin O'Leary. So hit subscribe to this channel if you're new. Let's listen to Alan Dershowitz.
Get Trump. And this is simply a manifestation of keeping that promise. She has to get Trump or she won't get reelected. She could have gone after any one of 1,000 real estate moguls in New York and prove that they had overestimated the value of some of their holdings. It's very common. Certainly she could prove that they evaluated the holdings more than the estimates for tax purposes, but they targeted Donald Trump. They went after him only because of who he was. You know, the Bible says to judges and prosecutors, do not recognize faces. Do not ever make decisions based on who the person was. Is there anybody out there, anybody who believes that this case would have been brought if Donald Trump were not the former president and the current leading candidate to run against Joe Biden? Of course not. This is selective prosecution, and it's wrong.
Could you argue, as the New York Attorney General has done, that the stakes are higher in this case because this is a man running for president as opposed to any other real estate developer in New York?
That's a serious mistake. Let the public judge based on the information that's available. You don't have selective prosecution. We do in many countries. You know, one of the dictators in South America said, for my friends, everything, for my enemies, the law. When you aim the law at any particular individual, the great Justice Robert Jackson once said, he was the chief prosecutor at Nuremberg and a justice of the Supreme Court, any prosecutor rummaging through the statute books and rummaging through the records, if any person can find enough to bring a charge against him. So this empty claim that no one is above the law, but no one is below the law. The law has to be applied equally to everybody, whether you're running for president or not. In fact,
why is it that Democrats pontificate about the rule of law? And we just heard from the special counsel that Biden won't be prosecuted for mishandling classified data, for actually committing crimes with classified data because his memory, he lacked the memory or cognitive abilities, and because of his age. You think if Trump had cognitive issues, they would be as accommodating and conciliatory and understanding and not indict him? Of course that wouldn't be the case. You're talking about the greatest hypocrites and the most vicious and vile and venomous and petulant and malicious political side. I mean, you can see, I don't have Twitter, I don't have Facebook, but they are the most vile to the left. For the left, towards the left is the most vicious. Then they get more petulant with just, everyone else like Trump. They just despise him because he defeated them in 2016. And he's defeating them easily right now in the polls, and he'll regain the Oval Office. But it's about power for Democrats. They get away. When Clinton, who I think will replace Biden eventually, I'm one of the few people in all of YouTube that said Biden will eventually be replaced. Long before, I think it was the JP Morgan analyst that said he'd be replaced. So you look, ladies and gentlemen, and it's like his poll numbers will go up. He'll easily win. Trump is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. He is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. Because the more they try to hurt him, the worse it is for them, the better it is for him. Hit subscribe if you're new to this channel right now.
the fact that you're running for president and that tens of millions of people want to vote for you for president ought to be a reason for not bringing a case during the presidential election campaign season. You wait until after the election is over. You don't try to influence the election by partisan. And remember, all these people, Letitia James ran as a Democrat, Alvin Bragg ran as a Democrat. The judge, as far as I know, is
he's been listed as a Democrat, certainly.
Yeah, and the whole judicial system of New York is heavily dominated by Democrats and by anti-Trump Republicans. Remember, too, that some of the leaders of the Get Trump campaign are Republicans. Now, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm going to vote against him. I want to see the American people have the right to defeat him decisively in a real election that he can't complain about. And I don't think that we're seeing that now, because we're seeing so much influence being put on the election that if Trump loses, he's going to continue to campaign and complain and say, look, they indicted me 4 times. They took all my money away. They tied me up in court. And that's why I lost the election. I want this to be a clean, fair, open election, which he loses on the merits.
In terms of the trial itself right now, one thing that is surprising to some people is that he has shown up. Are you surprised by that? Would you have advised him to show up given the conditions under which this trial is taking place?
I think it's wise for him to show up. The question is,
how many Democrats are going to show up when they don't have to? How about none? This man is showing up to court in New York, and he is showing some major you-know-what. Okay? Trump is a lot of things. He's not a criminal. On the other hand, you actually have criminal acts from Democrats that get away with it. The President of the United States of America, the special counsel literally said, oh yeah, he committed crimes with classified data. He committed crimes with classified data. And still they didn't indict him. Okay, so what does that tell you? What does that tell you? I mean, the problem, ladies and gentlemen, is that they have tried so desperately to destroy and tarnish Trump's image. There's nothing more that they can do. They've cried wolf for 7 years. They accused him of being an operative of another country. They're just, when you peel the layers of the Democratic Party onion, all you get is that creature in Lord of the Rings where he's like, precious, precious, I want my precious. Where he wants that power. That's all they want. It has nothing to do with the country, the democracy, the republic, the Constitution, the rule of law. They want political power. That's it. That's it. Okay, that's why you look right here, and it's not even an industry standard for a person's own valuation of their. So he can say that he's worth any amount of money. It's the bank that decides. He's not going to deceive the bank. He's just simply not going to deceive the bank. Okay? And it's like, I want you to listen to Trump again after having heard Alan Dershowitz and Kevin O'Leary.
Years with this person. She's a political hack, the Attorney General. The judge is obviously extremely friendly with the group, and we'll see what happens. I think maybe he may surprise people on a positive side. We'll have to see what happens exactly. But we've proven this case so conclusively. We've asked for directed verdict many times. They don't have any facts. They don't have any evidence against us. Millions and millions of pages, years of litigation, and all politically motivated. She campaigned on a "I will get Trump." If you've ever seen any of her clips, they're horrible clips, actually. The anger. She's got serious Trump derangement syndrome. There's no question about it. Letitia James, the corrupt Attorney General of New York. So we've proven our case. There's not one witness against us other than one person who is a deranged. He's got a lot of problems. He's a man who's been convicted of lying. He's a felon, convicted felon, and not a good person. But that's their only witness, and he's now crashed and burned. They have no witnesses. And by the way, that witness took back everything that he said. He took back everything he said in court, took it all back. So they have no case. It's a shame that a thing like this is able to happen. Businesses leave New York. She went after Exxon, and they decided to move to Texas. And hundreds of millions of dollars they pay in taxes. I paid over $300 million of taxes over the last number of years. $300 million. And they don't recognize that. They don't recognize anything. So think of it, not one witness, millions of pages of document, years of this nonsense, and now it goes on. And one other factor, we won this case already in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals voted in favor of us. But this judge has been very, very slow to accept that opinion because that's not the opinion that he wants. But we won in the Court of Appeals. That's the boss of this judge. He has to know that. And it was a conclusive victory, statute of limitations and other things. And that case has already been won. So that's the story, and I thought we'd come down to 40 Wall Street, which is a great building, and you'd get a chance to see one of the nicest buildings in New York and a convenient place, and I don't have to pay any rent because we have it, and it's been a very successful building. But it's a shame to have gone through this for years and years and years, and now we'll see if we're going to get an honest verdict. We didn't have a jury. We had no rights to a jury. It's a statute that's never been used before for a purpose like this. I just watched a certain broadcast, and they said, they've been looking, has it ever been used before? This is a statute that's a consumer fraud statute, never been used for anything like this before, and it's a shame. It's really it's a witch hunt in the truest sense of the word. It's election interference, and it just came out. This was just right now. Letitia James visited Joe Biden in the White House numerous times during the Trump witch hunt, and this just came out about 10 minutes ago. I got it, and so it's all a conspiracy to try and get Biden, who can't put two sentences together, trying to get him into office. So I just want to let you know that we have our best poll numbers, we have the best everything, despite this, and maybe because of this, because the people of the United States, all of those people back there, but the people of the United States really get it. They get it better than anybody else. Yeah, please.
Does this seem like a man frightened? Okay. Does he seem frightened to you? The way certain pundits want you to believe he's frightened, he's petrified. Nicholas, thank you so very, very much. You're too slow. Nicholas, thank you so very, very much. Does he seem like someone concerned that he's going to lose all his money? Nicholas, thank you again. So you're going to see, like on YouTube, you'll see people with videos, Trump petrified. He's completely petrified. He's so scared and frightened. And you get this kind of nonsense, these people who are so oblivious to who Trump is. See, the way Democrats view how they're treating Trump, they would be petrified. If the entire American political establishment was against them, they would be frightened. They would be feeling that the walls were closing in, not Trump. Not Trump. As you can see, the man is a fighter, and he keeps fighting and fighting and fighting. That's all he does, is continue to fight and fight. He's the least frightened. He's the least frightened politician because he doesn't need politics to survive. Even if he loses the appeal, which he won't lose, he'll probably lose the initial verdict and then win on appeal, like Kevin O'Leary and Alan Dershowitz is saying. But even if he couldn't do business in New York, he'd be a multi-millionaire, billionaire doing business in other countries or other states. Democrats don't have that to fall back on. Politicians, I should say, don't have that to fall back on. Democratic Party politicians. That's why the people indicting him are getting paid by taxpayer dollars. Okay? And that's also, unfortunately, you look, all of these indictments are unraveling, and they're hurting the people. Like, you're finding out things about those who try to imprison Trump that you never would have found out. That's why these cases are falling apart. Hit subscribe, by the way, if you're new to this channel.
Son or the company or whoever it was, Burisma, in just about case that I'm involved in is set up by Biden. They're doing it for election interference. And in a way, I guess you'd consider it part of the campaign, because if you really look at it, they are doing this. It's never been done like this in this country. It's like we're a third world country, a banana republic. But every one of the things that you write about are Biden indictments. And I don't know, I just got a poll. We just had a poll. It just came out, and we're leading massively in Iowa. We're leading very big in New Hampshire. We're leading because the people understand this stuff. These are all set up. Every time somebody sees me in court, remember, Joe Biden and his thugs that surround him did it. They're trying to get a man in office that can't put two sentences together, and they're doing that. But so far, we seem to do very well.
You and the Iowa caucuses Monday, an event in New Hampshire.
The second that anyone asks questions about Hunter's laptop, the second that anyone says, hey, Clinton committed crimes with private servers, and I think that she'll replace Biden, the second that anyone says any of that, okay, the first thing out of the mouth of Democrats is, this is politically motivated. These are Republicans. This is the right. These are talking points. They're not worried about... See, here's the difference. If Trump was guilty, or if there's obvious... If he tried to overthrow the government and he was an operative of another country, and he was this person who treated others in the manner Biden has, or Biden's been accused of, and if he was this monster, I wouldn't vote for him. But he's not. We know the evidence is not there. It's purely the most apoplectic, hysterical endeavor to try to get him at all costs. His poll numbers are up the more he gets indicted, because the entire country knows that Democrats have cried wolf for 7 years. All they do is lie. That's all they do. That's why his poll numbers are up. The man's indicted 91 times or under 91 criminal charges, and he's still up 2 to 4 points nationally. And he's going to regain the Oval Office. Even if he's convicted, he'll probably be convicted in New York, and he'll win on appeal. And the Supreme Court keeps giving him victories, and the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 unanimous decision, will overturn the completely unconstitutional and absurd Colorado ban. So the authoritarians, I mean, think about despots and authoritarians. What do? They try to prevent their direct political rivals from being on the ballot, which is exactly what Democrats are doing. They also censor, which is exactly what Democrats were doing on Twitter, working with the government. You had liberals at Twitter working with the United States government, infringing upon the First Amendment. This is exactly what Elon Musk and those journalists talked about. And then the left, the far left, said, oh, that's not true. The quote-unquote far left, which is the most hilarious. This country does not have a far left. They only have Democrats and more extreme Democrats. That's it. All of the communists and socialists or whatever, they're all going to vote Democrat anyway. Eagle Snorp, T-Duck, thank you. To my super chat, thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Nicholas, thank you for gifting so many memberships. My God. Nicholas, thank you. Figgle Snorp, thank you. T-Duck, hello. One of the great names in this channel's history. Hit subscribe if you're new. Thank you, everybody.
Tuesday, are you going to be back in court for the Eugene Carroll case on Wednesday?
These are all set up by Biden and the Democrats. This is their new form of cheating. This is like last time. This is their new form of cheating. So far, I think it's gone very much against them. Yeah, please.
Imagine if Trump indicted Biden a Democrat under 91 criminal charges with red states leading the way. Imagine what the New York Times and Washington Post and MSNBC and CNN and The Atlantic and Rolling Stone and Vanity Fair and Esquire, imagine what they'd all say. Imagine if Trump indicted Trump's DOJ with a special counsel and red state prosecutors in conservative red states went after a Democrat. What do you think they'd say, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think they'd say? They'd say, hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. And thank you so much to the super chat.
Yes, during the hearing you said that Exxon left New York because of the New York Attorney General's case, but Exxon actually left in 1989.
No, they took the rest of their divisions out. Yeah. They left earlier. They were treated very badly in New York. You could have had them in New York. They could have been paying a lot of money.
But it wasn't Letitia James's.
Oh, no, I think if you take a look, you read the case, study the case, you'll see that they took big divisions out after that. They originally left and then they took the rest out.
You just said you could get President Biden on various issues you outlined.
I didn't say I could get him on anything. I said he is using the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI to go after his political opponent, and you just can't do that. Thank you very much.
Are you going to get anyone, anywhere? Would you get anyone, anywhere to cheer for Biden? I want to know that. Just put everything aside right now. Forget the court cases. Forget the polls. I'm asking a question to the viewers watching. Is there any place in the country where Democrats who voted for the most popular candidate of all time, by far, more popular than President Obama, if you look at the numbers, okay? Do you think there's anywhere in this country, in the chat, if you're watching or stumbling upon this, hit subscribe. If you're stumbling upon this, I'm asking you a question right now. November is around the corner. You can get a crowd anywhere in this country, in New York, in LA, in Seattle, in Portland, anywhere. You can get a crowd. To my super chat, thank you again. Snorp T Duck, thank you. Thank you. One of the great names in this channel's history. You can get anywhere in this country people to cheer for Trump. Now, in Portland or Seattle or in certain parts of New York, you might get other people suddenly trying to overshadow the cheering, but you will get people who love Trump in every city, in every state of this country. I want to know, where are the people that will cheer for Joe Biden? Forget about voting. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about you'd rather have Biden. I'm not saying I'm asking, is there anyone in this country that will go and actually cheer for the Democratic president in the Oval Office? I'm like legitimately asking, can you find a crowd of people in the United States of America to actually cheer at the top of their lungs for Joe Biden? Okay, that's a rhetorical question. I'll leave it up to the viewer. Okay, because that's a cult. Not cheering for Trump because he had a great economy, record low poverty, and record highs in household median income. The Doha Agreement, which brought Americans back home, and it was Biden that completely botched that. And Americans lost their lives because it was a May 1st, 2021 withdrawal. We had the first president to step foot in North Korea. We had a president who presided over a great economy. And the worst thing they said about him was the Helsinki conference, because he doubted the intel report on the DNC emails that showed that Bernie Sanders was completely railroaded by his own political party. They can't even have a functioning Democratic primary. The DNC emails are apparently part of national security because they show how corrupt, how utterly corrupt and miserable the Democratic National Committee was with Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, lacked Trump's courage. Do you think Bernie Sanders is going to say, I was cheated. I can't believe that they tried to undermine me. He'll never do that in a million years. He would never do that. He would never in a million years do that. And so Trump fights back. They're going after him in the same way they would go after Bernie Sanders or Nikki Haley or DeSantis or Mitt Romney. Again, they're going after Trump in the same way that they would go after Nikki Haley. This is a long-term strategy to indict Republicans with Democratic Party prosecutors. Now imagine if Trump does that when he regains the Oval Office with conservative prosecutors who campaigned on indicting and imprisoning Democrats. Because that's exactly what took place. That's exactly what took place. Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel if you're new. I will be back tomorrow at about 3 p.m. Eastern. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my super chat. Thank you. And to the new viewers on this channel, hit subscribe. Thank you so very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you all. Trump will likely get convicted for the hush money as well, which would be hilarious because the FEC fined Clinton and the DNC. His poll numbers will go up, he'll win on appeal, and he'll regain the Oval Office. Okay, there's really not much that could stop Trump this year. And the economy, we're on the brink of a terrible stock market crash. Subscribe also to the Stock Market Crash channel and the Bitcoin Crash channel. There's also a short on this channel where I incline press 90-pound dumbbells. Please go ahead and watch that short. Hit subscribe, everybody. Thank you so very much. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. Nicholas, Super Chat. Everybody, thank you so much. Paul Bartlett, thank you. T. Duck, thank you. Everyone here, thank you. God bless you all. See you tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.